You believe fear is your enemy, but you are mistaken. Fear is not something that hunts you from the shadows, it is something born inside you when your mind loses command. I learned long ago that fear arrives before danger, before loss, before pain. It appears the moment your thoughts scatter. When the mind hesitates, fear steps forward to take control. So if you wish to remove fear completely, you do not chase it away, you arrive earlier than it does. Understand this clearly: fear is information. It is a signal, like the tightening of the grip before a strike or the silence before a storm. Weak minds treat this signal as a command to stop. Average minds treat it as something to fight emotionally. But the disciplined mind treats fear as a messenger that arrives with useful knowledge. When fear appears, it tells you where you are attached, where you are untrained, where your awareness is dull. If you listen calmly instead of reacting, fear exposes its own weakness. Most people lose the battle before it begins because they wait until fear is loud. By then, it has already shaped their posture, their breathing, their decisions. Their shoulders tighten, their thoughts race, and their vision narrows. They think fear came suddenly, but it was invited by neglect. The disciplined mind does not allow this invitation. It stays present before fear has time to grow teeth. This is why control must begin at the smallest moments. When you wake before the world speaks to you, your mind is soft clay. If you allow it to be shaped by noise, urgency, and comparison, fear will be its final form. But if you shape it deliberately, fear has no place to settle. I did not wait for battle to train calm. I trained calm while walking, while eating, while sitting alone with nothing to distract me. Fear cannot ambush a mind that is already standing guard. You must learn to notice the first whisper of unease. Not the panic, not the trembling, those come later. I speak of the subtle shift, the moment you imagine failure, the moment you seek reassurance, the moment you delay action to feel safer. That is where fear is born. If you correct yourself there, fear never matures. If you ignore it, it grows strong enough to command you. People believe courage means acting despite fear. That is incomplete. True mastery means acting before fear forms a sentence in your mind. This requires clarity, not force. When the mind is clear, fear finds nothing to hold on to. It is like trying to grasp smoke with bare hands. The clearer your perception, the weaker fear becomes. I learned that fear feeds on stories. The mind creates images of loss, pain, embarrassment, defeat. These images feel real, so the body reacts as if danger is already present. But the disciplined mind sees these images as what they are: shadows cast by thought. When you stop feeding the story, fear starves. When you return to what is real in this moment, your breath, your balance, your next step, fear collapses under its own emptiness. Do not misunderstand me. Fear does not disappear because you deny it. Denial makes it stronger. Fear disappears when you understand it fully. When you observe it without judgment, without resistance, it reveals that it has no power of its own. It borrows power from your attention. Remove that attention and fear fades like mist under the sun. Many seek techniques, rituals, or words to remove fear. They want a shield they can carry into chaos. But the strongest shield is awareness sharpened daily. When awareness is sharp, fear cannot surprise you. Surprise is fear's greatest weapon. Take that away and fear becomes harmless. This is why training must be constant and quiet. You do not wait for great challenges to test your mind. You test it in small discomforts. You sit still when the body wants to move. You act when the mind wants to delay. You remain silent when ego demands recognition. Each time you do this, you weaken fear at its root. Each time you avoid it, you strengthen it. The mind that commands fear does not shout, it does not tense, it does not rush, it remains steady even when the world shakes. When others panic, this mind sees options. When others freeze, this mind moves naturally, not because it is brave but because it is prepared. Preparation is fear's greatest enemy. I have seen men stronger than me fall apart before a fight even began. Their bodies were trained, but their minds were undisciplined. Fear had already defeated them while they stood still. I have also seen smaller men move with precision and calm because fear never reached their hands. Strength of body matters little if fear commands the mind. You must stop asking how to remove fear and start asking how to arrive before it. Arrive in your breath, arrive in your posture, arrive in your attention. When you are fully present, fear has no future to threaten you with. It exists only in what might happen, not in what is happening. Presence cuts fear off at the source. This is the difference between those who break under pressure and those who become sharper. Pressure does not create fear, it reveals who trained their mind early and who delayed discipline. The world will always apply pressure. That is not the problem. The problem is waiting until pressure arrives to prepare your mind. So command fear by commanding yourself. Train your awareness until it stands watch without effort. Learn to recognize fear as a signal, not a sentence. And remember this above all else: when the mind arrives first, fear never gets a chance to speak. When the sun has not yet risen and the world is silent, that is when the mind reveals its true nature. Most people avoid this moment. They hide beneath sleep, comfort, and excuses, believing rest will save them from fear. They are wrong. The moment you wake is the moment your mind is weakest and most honest. Whatever controls you then will control you for the rest of the day. I learned early that the morning decides the battle before it begins. Not the clash of swords, not the noise of conflict, but the first breath after waking. In that moment, the mind has not yet been shaped by noise, opinion, or pressure. It is empty, open, and dangerous. If you do not claim it, the world will. And when the world claims your mind, fear follows close behind. Those who wake late wake already defeated. Their thoughts rush, their breath shortens, and urgency grips them before they have chosen a direction. They mistake this chaos for normal life, but chaos is simply fear wearing a familiar face. A rushed mind is a fearful mind. A fearful mind reacts instead of commands. Waking early is not about time, it is about authority. When you rise before the world demands anything from you, you remind your mind that you are in control. There is no audience, no reward, no praise, only discipline. And discipline, practiced in silence, removes fear more effectively than any loud display of courage. In the quiet hours, your thoughts have nowhere to hide. You will feel resistance immediately. The body will beg for comfort. The mind will invent reasons to delay. This resistance is not an obstacle, it is the training itself. Every time you rise despite it, you teach the mind that excuses are not commands. Fear feeds on excuses. Starve it early. I did not rise early to feel powerful. I rose early to feel clear. Clarity is the enemy of fear. When the mind is clear, it sees what must be done without drama. Fear cannot grow where there is no confusion, and confusion is always louder when the day begins in disorder. Use the morning to sharpen attention. Sit with stillness. Feel your breath without controlling it. Notice how the mind jumps, complains, and seeks distraction. Do not fight it, observe it. This observation builds distance, and distance weakens fear. The mind that can watch itself cannot be ruled by impulse. Many believe fear comes from danger. It does not. Fear comes from a lack of readiness. The morning is where readiness is built. When you move your body with intention before sunrise, you remind yourself that action comes before comfort. When you face silence without distraction, you remind yourself that you do not need noise to exist. Each of these acts removes another place where fear could hide. If you allow the morning to be stolen by screens, by voices, by comparisons, then fear enters disguised as information. News, messages, expectations, they all pull your attention outward before you have anchored it within. Once attention is scattered, fear multiplies. A scattered mind cannot stand firm under pressure. The disciplined morning is simple, not dramatic. You do not need rituals to impress others, you need consistency that reshapes your inner posture. Rise, breathe, move, sit, prepare. These actions tell the mind a single truth: I am ready before I am tested. Fear has no answer for readiness. Over time, something changes quietly. Situations that once created anxiety lose their sharpness. Pressure feels slower. Decisions feel cleaner. This is not because the world became easier, but because your mind stopped waking up unprepared. Fear hates preparation because it depends on surprise. Those who master the morning do not rush into the day, they enter it. There is a difference. Rushing is fear-driven, entering is controlled. When you enter the day with intention, fear must ask permission to speak, and most days it is not granted any. I have seen warriors train their bodies endlessly while neglecting this simple discipline. They sought strength in movement but ignored stillness. Yet it is in stillness that fear reveals itself most honestly. The morning gives you that mirror. If you can sit with yourself then, you can face anything later. Do not romanticize this practice. Some mornings will feel heavy, some will feel pointless. That is when it matters most. Discipline practiced only when convenient is weakness pretending to be strength. True strength is quiet consistency when no one is watching. When the day begins under your command, fear never finds its footing. It arrives late, uncertain, and weak, and by then you are already moving with purpose. Win the morning and fear has already lost. Fear survives because you cling to outcomes. You want victory to look a certain way. You want safety, recognition, certainty, survival, praise. The moment you become attached to any of these, fear is born, not later, immediately. Because attachment creates something to lose, and where there is something to lose, fear sharpens its blade. I learned that fear does not come from the action itself but from the imagined result. Before the strike, before the step forward, before the decision, the mind rushes ahead and asks, what if? That question is the root of fear. What if I fail? What if I lose? What if I am judged? What if I do not survive? These thoughts pull you out of the present moment and place you into a future that does not yet exist. Fear lives only there. When you detach from outcome, you return fully to what is in front of you, not success, not failure, only the next correct action. The body relaxes, the breath deepens, the mind stops trembling. Action becomes clean because it is no longer poisoned by desperation. Weak minds are obsessed with winning. Average minds are obsessed with avoiding loss. Both are trapped. The disciplined mind is obsessed only with correctness. It asks one question: what must be done now? Nothing more, nothing less. When you act from this place, fear has no role. Fear cannot argue with necessity. Understand this deeply. Attachment is a form of begging. Begging the future to be kind. Begging others to approve. Begging circumstances to align. A beggar is always afraid because he depends on forces he cannot control. The moment you stop begging, fear begins to starve. Detachment does not mean indifference, it means clarity. You still move with full intensity, full commitment, full presence, but you release your grip on how the result must look. You strike because striking is correct. You advance because advancing is required. You accept the consequence without complaint. This is freedom. I walked into battles knowing I could die. That knowledge did not weaken me, it steadied me, because once you accept the worst outcome fully, fear has nothing left to threaten you with. Fear survives on negotiation. If you do this, something bad might happen. When you have already accepted that possibility, the negotiation ends. Most people exhaust themselves emotionally before action even begins. They rehearse victory and defeat 1,000 times in their mind. By the time they move, they are already drained. Detachment saves energy. All of it goes into the present action where it belongs. You must train this deliberately. Begin with small things. Act without needing praise. Work without needing immediate results. Speak truth without needing approval. Each time you do this, you cut another thread that fear uses to bind you. Each time you cling, you tighten the knot. Notice how fear spikes when your identity is at risk, when you fear looking weak, foolish, or unsuccessful. Identity is another form of attachment. When you protect an image of yourself, fear becomes its guardian. When you release the image, fear loses its job. Detachment sharpens judgment. When you are attached, you rush, you force openings that are not there, you hesitate when movement is required. When you are detached, you see clearly, you wait when waiting is right, you move instantly when the moment appears. This calm precision is what others mistake for fearlessness. I have seen men panic not because the situation was dire but because their expectations were shattered. They imagined an easy path, quick victory, or control. When reality disagreed, fear flooded them. Reality always disagrees with expectation. Detachment is the acceptance of this truth. Do not confuse detachment with passivity. The detached mind is fully engaged. It simply does not argue with reality. It adapts, it flows. Fear resists reality. Detachment works with it. The more you practice acting without attachment, the more you realize how heavy your mind once was, how much fear you carried without noticing. Freedom feels light because nothing is being dragged behind you into the future. Eventually, fear becomes unfamiliar. It still appears, but it feels distant, like an echo. It no longer grips your body or commands your breath. It becomes a passing signal, not a ruling force. When you release the outcome, you reclaim yourself. And when you reclaim yourself, fear has nowhere left to stand. When pressure arrives, most minds collapse inward. Breath shortens, vision narrows, and thought becomes loud and useless. People believe fear causes this, but fear is only a symptom. The true cause is the absence of calm. Calm is not weakness. Calm is control, and control under pressure is the sharpest weapon you will ever carry. I learned this not in moments of peace, but in moments where one mistake meant the end. When the body is threatened and the stakes are final, emotion offers nothing of value. Anger wastes energy, panic blinds judgment, excitement disrupts timing. Only calm allows you to see what is actually happening instead of what you fear might happen. Calm does not arrive naturally. It must be trained deliberately long before pressure appears. Those who hope to rise to the occasion are already defeated. Under pressure, you do not rise, you fall to the level of your training. If calm is not practiced daily, it will abandon you when you need it most. Understand this: calm is not the absence of intensity. It is intensity without noise. The calm mind is fully alert, fully engaged, fully dangerous. It sees faster because it is not distracted by emotion. It moves cleaner because it is not rushing to escape discomfort. Fear dissolves in this state because fear requires agitation to survive. Most people mistake calm for slowness. They believe reacting quickly means acting emotionally. They are wrong. True speed comes from stillness. When the mind is calm, decisions are instant because there is no inner debate. Action flows naturally from perception. This is why the calm one always appears a step ahead. Pressure exposes habits. If your habit is to tense, to rush, to overthink, pressure will amplify these flaws. If your habit is to breathe, to observe, to remain centered, pressure sharpens you. The world does not break people, pressure reveals who never built calm in the first place. I trained calm in ordinary moments, standing still while others fidgeted, breathing slowly while the body demanded urgency, remaining silent while ego wanted to speak. These small disciplines taught the nervous system that discomfort is not an emergency, and once the body learns this, fear loses its physical grip. Fear begins in the body before it reaches the mind. Tight shoulders, shallow breath, clenched jaw, calm interrupts this chain. When you control the breath, you control the body. When the body is steady, the mind follows. This is not philosophy, it is mechanics. In chaos, the calm mind sees openings others miss. While others fixate on threats, the calm mind notices balance, timing, distance. Fear narrows vision, calm widens it. That is why the calm one survives where the frantic one exhausts himself. People chase confidence, but confidence is unreliable. It depends on success. Calm does not. Calm remains even when things go wrong, especially when things go wrong. That is its true value. When plans collapse, confidence shatters. Calm adapts. You must stop feeding the belief that emotion improves performance. It does not. Emotion creates noise. Noise delays action. Precision demands silence inside. The quieter the mind, the sharper the response. Calm also terrifies opponents. Panic is contagious, but so is composure. When others see you unmoved under pressure, doubt enters their mind. They question their advantage. They rush. They make mistakes. Calm turns the enemy's fear against them without a word spoken. This is not cruelty, this is clarity. Pressure is unavoidable. Life will test you repeatedly. The question is not whether pressure will come, but whether you will meet it with chaos or command. You cannot fake calm. The body knows, the breath knows, the mind knows. Calm must be earned through repetition. Sit with discomfort until it loses its urgency. Face uncertainty without reaching for reassurance. Allow pressure without trying to escape it. Each time you do this, calm deepens. Eventually, pressure becomes familiar, not comfortable but familiar, and familiarity removes fear. Fear feeds on the unknown, calm makes the unknown navigable. When calm becomes your default state, fear arrives confused. It expects resistance, panic, hesitation. Instead, it finds stillness, and stillness gives it nothing to work with. Remain calm, and pressure will serve you instead of breaking you.